Hi, Dayton City Commission meeting will now come to order. Please rise for the invocation, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, and this evening, the invocation will be given by Commissioner Turnslaus.
Thank you, Mayor. Will you all please bow your heads? To Heavenly Father, we come to you with bowed heads and humble hearts. We thank you for this day. We ask that you continue to lead us and guide us. Guide us as we lead to do the will of your people. Give us discernment and wisdom in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please, Ms. Blackshear.
Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner Sloss.
Aye.
Okay, we have a motion then to approve the minutes from the October 23rd meeting.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the October 23rd meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay. So, Ms. Blackshear, do we have any communications or petitions?
There are none, Your Honor.
Okay. I know I have a presentation this morning, so I'd like to ask Mr. Steve Gondo, who's the Director of Planning and Neighborhoods and Development, to come to the podium and to provide us with an update.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, Clerk.
Evening, sir.
Good to be back. Have some good news in the realm of our monthly demolition update. So tonight, we're going to be talking about our work through the end of September. So through the end of September, we have completed 184 total demolitions, the bulk of those using the ARPA funds, also mixed in with our ODOD and general funds. For the month of September, we had 14 structures removed. 11 of those were using ARPA funds. 3 were using ODOD. So that we have 3 more months to go in our year, but as you can see, we're quickly eclipsing our work in 2023. We ended the month of August with 90 piles. We had 6 removed, which was a really good effort. We had 1 added, so we're down to about 85 at the end of September with kind of our emergency demolitions for the city. One little added feature this month, I actually asked our staff to map out. For all of 2024, I just asked to see where these emergency demolitions were occurring. And reminder, these are either structural, which are ordered by our chief building official, or fire, which is ordered by the fire department because the structure had sustained such damage that they felt it was not able to remain standing. So there's really no pattern here as to where these are occurring. You really see that it is throughout the city. For the month of September, you can see a pattern here. We really focus, and I think our neighbors will tell you, in that Main Street corridor area, that was a concerted effort, truly to kind of align with the work that our colleagues in Public Works were doing with the Main Street repair. So not only were we repairing the street, we were actually taking out homes along that corridor to kind of align with that investment. And then you'll see kind of off of that corridor in between Salem Avenue were most of the other demolitions. And then to date through the whole year is, again, just that output map all throughout the city. We added 15 structures to our nuisance list in September. That brings us to 407 that we are now reassessing in terms of as we're obviously removing structures, we have these on, and we'll be working on a plan for 2025 on how those layer into our work plan for 2025. Our pipeline report, you'll see we'll be ramping up 19 title reports, 22 asbestos surveys, 5 remediations. All that means is that these are preparing these homes for removal in the coming weeks. Kind of our before and afters will primarily be featured on Main Street here. You'll see 2104 North Main, 2605 North Main, 3109 North Main, 208-210 Fountain. And then this next one I really like because we do get criticisms that how a building looks from the street is like, why'd you take that down? It looked fine. using our drones that we have, you'll see here just how severe some of these buildings look. You know, I mean, we talk about curb appeal. There could be reverse curb appeal where the front doesn't look that bad, but when you get up there, you'll see just how damaged these are. And so these were side by side, 1929, 1933 Ellesmere that we removed. Underway. So last week, thank you, you voted for a number of contracts for us to proceed in 2025. I just want to give you some context. 230 structures are on contract. We have a 50-pile contract under bid review this week. And then we have additional 104 that were granted from the state earlier this month that through our partnership with the Montgomery County Land Bank through another phase of ODOD demolitions. And so the value dollar of those contracts approved last week were about $5.3 million, which gets us to about 99% of our ARPA funds for the Dayton recovery is either expensed or encumbered. And that was critical because that had to happen before the end of 2024. So we have fully utilized all the funds that were given to us through the ARPA program. 32 months completed, we have 26 remaining, but we're looking at a pipeline in 2025 based off the contracts yesterday or last week of about 300 to 400 properties baseline that will be underway early 2025 with those that we're currently doing. So just a lot of robust activity, but we're really seeing the impact. And as I noted last week in the memos, the work moving forward will be occurring kind of north of Wolf Creek, west of, kind of that Wolf Creek over to the Stillwater, moving up into that area, as well as the east side, Burkhart, and west side, Westwood. And then those 104 properties that were part of the Montgomery County Land Bank program, those are in Greenwich Village, Residence Park, and a few other places throughout the city, but the high concentration in there, those are properties that were unfunded and that we applied previously. So really great strides. Really, I think I'll be excited for the next few months, kind of showing that momentum, and then really looking ahead to 25 as to how we're going to have probably one of our most robust years for our program.
Okay.
On that, I will take any questions.
Okay, lots of good news. Appreciate that. Commissioners, Commissioner Sloss, any questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Dango, for you and your staff and all of the great work that you're doing. This is, again, one of my favorite presentations that I look forward to at the end of each month. So, again, just want to uplift the work that you and your staff are doing. I would like to see, again, I believe I mentioned this last month, I want to see how our current numbers align with our recent housing survey. Our recent housing survey, that was conducted states that we have 201 dilapidated units. And then it goes on in terms of the level 1 through 5, right? Mm-hmm. We have 201 units that are labeled 5 dilapidated. And so I just want to see how are we aligning the work that we're doing with the Dayton recovery dollars with the housing survey that was conducted.
All right, that is something I will work with the city manager.
Yes.
to
Commissioner,
prepare.
we have
Yeah.
finished with the deep dive of and analysis with regard to the data with the housing survey.
Right.
So, hopefully that information is easy enough to align, but we'll take a look at that.
Please.
And see what we can do to illustrate that.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, you good?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Commissioner Fairchild.
No, thank you. I appreciate the update. This is very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Shaw.
Likewise, thank you.
Nothing here. Keep up the good work.
All right, thank
No,
you.
Always happy to see this, and
right.
always happy to see the results. So thank you.
Same here. Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay, Ms. Blackshear, do we have any additions, deletions, or comments to the calendar?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to request the addition of legislation pertaining to tonight's public hearing at the desire of the commission. That's all I have.
Okay, all right, thank you. Ms. Dixon, any additions, deletions, or comments to the calendar?
Your Honor, this evening, I do not have any additions or deletions, but there are a number of things to highlight, a lot of good stuff on the calendar this evening. And primarily occurring in our legislation. So item number 4, which is emergency resolution number 6834-24, is our resolution that authorizes a submission of the 2025 action plan for the 3 entitlement grants that we receive from HUD. Our CDBG funding, our ESG funding, which we support our homeless with, and our home funding, which we support home development with. That is, we anticipate receiving in 2025 about $4.5 million in CDBG, about $1 million in home, and about $500,000 in ESG.
Okay.
Item number 5 is the emergency resolution for us, 6835-24, which is for the city to accept the Continuum of Care grant. That's a little over $2 million. You'll recall that my MVHO does our tenant management for our permanent supportive housing units and our chronic housing units. And so MVHO receives that funding. That is a 2023 award. We are always a year or more behind from HUD, receiving the funding from HUD to be able to pass it on to MVHO. So nothing's changed there with regards to that timing. Ordinance number 32120-24 and resolution number 6837-24 are the 2 pieces of legislation before you related to the 2025 budget. Ordinance 32120-24 is the temporary appropriation ordinance, which provides an interim authorization to expend funds for city obligations between January 1, 2025, and the date the annual appropriation ordinance is adopted. Resolution number 6837-24 is the 2025 budget resolution, which represents the recommended budget of $644.7 million, addressing the funding priorities that we discussed in the budget work sessions and reflects input opportunities and staff work spanning the last 6 months. As you are all aware, expenditures are outpacing our revenue growth. This structural imbalance required a solve for a $10.9 million solve funded from various solutions, including an increase in the centralized vacancy savings, use of higher interest earnings, and use of city's cash reserve, as a few, but you all remember those, and we went through that in detail in the work sessions. Concurrently, the multi-year investment from the American Rescue Plan Act is allowing us to continue the implementation of the Dayton Recovery Plan, further complementing the 2025 budget. To highlight a few, these investments included the $15.8 million in demolition and the $18.3 million in new housing construction, housing rehab, and repair projects. And lastly, this legislation is being read twice in 2 different meetings, today and next Wednesday, as non-emergency. Their effective date will be December 6th, which gives our staff 2 weeks' time period to essentially get everything organized to start with January 1 expenditures. So just wanted to highlight those pieces of legislation. A couple more items. Resolution number 6838-24, which is item number 10 on the agenda. This is a joint use agreement required because of the state capital funding that the Greater Dayton School received for the creation of a park next to the school. The 15 years coalesces with this requirement from the state because the state sells bonds for the state capital, and so there has to be a public benefit insured for a minimum term of 15 years. So just wanted to highlight that. And the last piece of legislation, which is ordinance number 32112-24, I'd like to call Greg Parker from our law department forward to make a brief presentation to explain the changes, suggested changes for this legislation.
Good evening.
Evening, Mayor. Evening, Commissioners, City Manager, and Clerk. My name is Greg Parker. I'm an Assistant City Attorney in the Law Department. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about a piece of legislation that is intended to create an administrative process for housing violations. Currently, the city only enforces its housing code through criminal penalties. However, we have heard from community members and partners that we need different tools to address housing issues. This proposed ordinance would add another tool to the toolbox that is addressing housing violations in the city of Dayton. This proposed ordinance would enable the city to pursue civil remedies for specified violations of the housing code through an administrative process. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is threefold. First, it would drive more equitable results in the application of civil penalties as opposed to solely seeking criminal penalties. Second, it will enable swifter enforcement against whom the city can hold accountable, including but not limited to individual property owners, corporate entities, and occupants. And third, it will increase the efficiency by which the city can address violations of the housing code. While this does create a new process, the administrative process, it does not change the underlying elements and affirmative defenses of the specified housing violations. Moreover, something else that does not change is that each day that a violation exists is a separate offense. Additionally, subsequent offenses can escalate in the fine amount that is owed. And finally, this process will not eliminate the criminal application. Instead, this is just another tool in the toolbox. I want to provide a brief overview of the administrative process. Essentially, when a housing inspector identifies a violation specified in this ordinance and issues a notice of violation, the recipient of such a notice can do one of the following. One, they can pay the fine, thereby admitting liability. Two, they can admit the facts in the notice, but still request a hearing to offer an explanation. Three, they can deny the facts alleged in the notice and request a hearing to contest it. And they do have a fourth option, and that's to do nothing, neither pay the fine nor nor request a hearing. However, that would put the recipient in default. Now, if liability is determined, then the recipient must pay the fine and correct the violation. Again, that's because each day that a violation exists is a separate offense. The city can recover unpaid civil fines through the assessment of liens against the subject property. And the city can then file suit to collect individually or send to collections. To discuss a little more, I want to discuss a little more about the hearings. So there's going to be an independent hearing officer who will preside over the hearing and adjudicate a result. The recipient can defend themselves in the hearing, offer defenses and explanations. Moreover, the recipient can provide evidence, examine their own witnesses, cross-examine the city's witnesses, and offer rebuttal evidence. The hearing examiner then has 10 days following the date of the hearing to issue a decision. It should be noted that although this administrative process is the product of several years of interdepartmental collaboration, passing this ordinance is just the first step of several steps. We are working to establish necessary infrastructure, including technological components, to help facilitate this process. We are anticipating a late spring of 2025 pilot of this process, and again, this is a work in progress. We'll likely need to make adjustments as it progresses. Are there any questions?
Okay. Questions, Commissioners?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Parker. I really appreciate the overview. Thank you, Ms. Dickstein, for providing this additional context. I do have a couple of questions. First, I think you hit the nail on the head when you spoke to this being an anticipated pilot program and that there will be some additional ongoing adjustments that would need to be made. Because the first question that I have, too, is in regards to what is the ultimate goal, what we're dealing with? Like, we know that we have a number of blighted, derelict properties throughout the city of Dayton, but if we're continuously finding individuals, property owners, knowing that we have a host of LLCs, corporations, whatever have you, that are taking ownership of these properties or are not taking responsibility of the upkeep of the property itself, but where are we in terms of the fine line and making sure that the average homeowner is not burdened with a number of fines, bonds, additional costs that would hinder them from, one, correcting the violation, and then two, paying the fine itself? Like, what is the ultimate goal?
Right. So the goal is ultimately threefold. One, it's to create a more equitable process for the community. Two, it's to increase the efficiency through which the city can enforce its housing code. And three, it's to increase the flexibility against whom the city can hold accountable, including but not limited to property, like individuals who own property and LLCs or other corporate entities. Moreover, there are varying circumstances that factor into blight. Poverty is one of them. However, there are many other factors. And again, this should increase the flexibility where the city can connect people, property owners, with necessary resources.
So, exactly. Again, those are some of the things that we need to identify before we are passing legislation to penalize individuals, knowing that we have a high poverty rate in the city of Dayton, and knowing that, again, some of the various reasons why we were in the economic downturn of housing foreclosure, predatory lending, a number of people fell into disrepair of their property because of those various maintenance issues that they have incurred, that they could not afford to pay the mortgage, more so address the violation or any deferred maintenance on a property. So I would just encourage us to have those conversations and to put some programming in place, whether it's through our Human Relations Council, our planning department, whatever have you, that we're providing the necessary tools and resources to assist our residents and not just sticking them with fines. This is some of the legislation that you all worked on prior to my position in terms of reducing poverty by eliminating fines for towing. I will see that I would assume that this will fall in the same lines. Like, we don't want to continue to penalize people. Understand that this is great work from our law department, city administration.
Yes, I think it's designed to do exactly what you just said.
Yeah, but we need to make sure that we have those mechanisms in place.
Okay, that's the process. Okay, you finished the questions, or do you have another one?
Let's see. So what are the levels of protections and safeguards that we have in place, not only for the process itself, the process, the landlords, the property owner, the tenants? What are the safeguards and the protections that we have in place? And for the record, these questions are not new. These are questions that I posed very early on. So it's not a gotcha moment.
I understand.
But these are questions that we have been having for quite some time, and just really want to make sure that we're thinking about the processes that we have in place before we introduce legislation.
Right. So the administrative process will provide, will meet basic due process requirements, where it's going to provide a recipient with notice, i.e. the notice of violation, and then a meaningful opportunity to be heard, which is through the hearing.
Okay. And so
Okay.
the other question that I have too is, with the 20-day notice to respond, the question is for us to reevaluate, to determine or identify rather if that is sufficient time. If we're leaning on the Postal Service, I know we probably are moving away from certified mail, knowing that could be pretty costly, but is that a sufficient time for residents to respond for violations that they may
And
have?
to be clear, you're referring to the 20 days to request a hearing or otherwise answer?
Yes.
Yeah, so we do think that that is sufficient. Moreover, housing inspectors typically don't just issue notices or issue citations on a first occurrence. There is a lot of community engagement done through the housing team. So once they receive a notice of violation through this process, it should not be the first time that they are discussing a issue with a property owner or an occupant.
Okay. Can we understand that this is the first reading? Is it possible that we can have that process in place? I know we don't have all of the kinks, ironed out, whatever have you. but could we lay out a process that we're able to share with the public in terms of what the recourse is if they need to contact the housing inspection department, whatever have you, for the violations? Or what is the process for them to gain additional information, and what is the recourse in it?
So Commissioner, there's a lot of work yet to do beyond
Right.
this first step.
Yep.
I can tell you that we can provide an update prior to this going live,
That's fair, yes.
spring of next year, right?
Right.
So, but the staff have more work to do, but we've got to get the basis for the work in place so that we can work out some of those finalized details.
I just don't want us to negate the concerns, because oftentimes we'll pass something, we get
Sure.
busy, life happens.
Yeah, no, we
Okay,
will make
that's
sure
why
that
this is the first
there-
reading.
there is a appropriate
We
update
got
to the
that.
commission
Okay, good.
before this goes live.
Okay. And then the other thing is, the question that I had, last question. In prior conversations, there was mention of the rental receipt affirmative defense language to possibly be added to the legislation. Is that something that we steered away from, or where are we in that? And the reason being is we were trying to identify some level of protection for those who are deemed responsible for these violations.
Right. So the law department operates under the direction of a majority of the commission. It's my understanding that a majority of the commission did not share that belief.
So I will have a conversation with my colleagues, because that's not what I gathered.
Okay,
But
that's
we
good.
can have that conversation offline with my colleagues,
Okay.
and we need to make sure that that's addressed in there. Again, the overall purpose of this legislation is to protect and improve the quality of life for the residents in the city of Dayton. And I don't want our residents to be cost burdened with fines, penalties, whatever have you, and there's no level of protections in place. So, thank you, Mr. Parker.
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, I see Mr. Gondel down there. To some of those concerns, I know we've allocated some dollars for repair. Is there a place in this process where, particularly these residents who are on fixed incomes, because even under the civil or the criminal process, what we hear is homeowners who are there on fixed incomes, trying to take care of their properties, and they're the ones who get brought up with these criminal charges. But then there's houses across the street that are LLC owned, and they're like, nothing's happening to this owner, but you're putting these penalties on me. And
We do have ARPA home repair dollars that, while they are available,
Right.
that can be utilized by residents in that situation.
okay. And all I'm asking is that as we look at this process, that we make sure that early on in that process, that I think to Commissioner's point, that this is communicated to those residents, those homeowners, that they know that's available. Because last thing we need is for homeowners to be racking up all these fines. So that's my encouragement, that we find a way to make sure that we are pretty clear on that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shaw.
Yeah, well, I understand my colleagues' concerns, and I appreciate you all bringing these forward. Poverty is definitely an issue in our community. But also, I think the overall goal is to make sure that we have a minimum level of aesthetics in a neighborhood, and that, if I'm living next door to someone who's not maintaining their property or a property that they're renting, there need to be consequences to that, because we have to make sure that the standard of living for everyone is kind of maintained. But I appreciate the comments, and I think over time we should definitely take a look at different mechanisms that we could put in place to help folks that are in financial distress, and I think that we have a lot of that in this community already, and we should look for different ways to enhance that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Joseph.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you to my colleagues. This is good discussion. I think y'all are here in the will of the commission here. I would just add that I want to thank staff for this creative approach. This is a reaction to us hearing at every neighborhood meeting that we go to that there are houses that are owned by somebody who has just left it be, that an owner that has left town or for whatever reason, and the criminal process has not worked. It's not worked to bring some level of fairness, some level of justice. I applaud the staff for bringing this solution forward. Obviously, we're still working on it. But we will get there, and I'm glad that we're going to have this tool, because
there's too much abuse out there. There are too many neighborhoods that where houses are owned by people who could afford to fix them and are not. So I think you're all right. I agree with you. We need to make sure we're aiming at the right folks, but this is a tool we can use to get those houses fixed up. And I really appreciate staff's work on this.
Yep. Okay, echo my colleagues' comments. I think the reason why we requested that you do this work is so we can minimize the challenges that some individuals are having, and also to minimize some of the opportunities for those to violate this process on a continuous basis. And so all the suggestions that you gave, I think all four of them, the only one we don't like is to do nothing. Okay, so
Yeah.
we appreciate that.
Of
All right.
course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank
Okay.
you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Blackshear, do we have any citizens who would like to speak on calendar items?
None on calendar items, Your Honor.
Okay, Commissioners, comments on calendar items except for the one we just finished talking about.
No, I think I've already.
You're good?
Thank you.
All right. So I accept the motion then to approve the city manager's recommendations.
Your Honor, I move to approve the city manager's recommendations.
Second motion, Your Honor.
Okay. Been probably moved and seconded to approve the city manager's recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, legislation, Ms. Blackshear.
First reading, emergency resolution number 6834-24, authorizing the submission of the 2025 action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, authorizing the acceptance of grant awards under 3 community planning and development formula programs from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development on behalf of the City of Dayton and declaring an emergency.
Being declared an emergency, I move for the immediate passage of resolution number 6834-24.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to declare resolution number 6834-24 as an emergency. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
Second reading, emergency resolution number 6834-24, authorizing the submission of the 2025 action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, authorizing the acceptance of grant awards under 3 community planning and development formula programs from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development on behalf of the City of Dayton. Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner Sloss.
Aye.
First reading, emergency resolution number 6835-24, authorizing the city manager to accept a continuum of care grant award from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development under the Continuum of Care Permanent Supportive Housing Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Program on behalf of the City of Dayton and declaring an emergency.
I move for, being declared an emergency, I move for the immediate passage of resolution number 6835-24.
Second, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to declare resolution number 6835-24 as an emergency. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no.
Second reading, emergency resolution number 6835-24, authorizing the city manager to accept a continuum of care grant award from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development under the Continuum of Care Permanent Supportive Housing Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Program on behalf of the City of Dayton. Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner Sloss.
Aye.
First reading, emergency resolution number 6836-24, authorizing the acceptance of a grant award from the Attorney General of Ohio in an amount not to exceed $32,282.00 on behalf of the City of Dayton and declaring an emergency.
Having been declared an emergency, I move for the immediate passage of resolution 8636-24.
Second.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to have resolution number 6836-24 declared an emergency. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
Second reading, emergency resolution number 6836-24, authorizing the acceptance of a grant award from the Attorney General of Ohio in an amount not to exceed $32,282 $1.00 on behalf of the city of Dayton. Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner Sloss.
Aye.
First reading ordinance number 32120-24, providing temporary appropriations for the ordinary operating and capital expenses of the city of Dayton, pending passage of the year 2025 annual appropriation ordinance. First reading ordinance number 32112-24, amending section 61.02, 61.03, 61.04, 61.05, 61.06, 61.08, and 61.09 of the Revised Code of General Ordinances of the City of Dayton related to civil citations. First reading resolution number 6837-24, approving the city manager's 2025 operating and capital improvement budget recommendations, authorizing the necessary implementation actions. First reading resolution number 6838-24, authorizing the city manager to enter into a joint user agreement with the Greater Dayton School nonprofit to ensure public access to a park for 15 years so the nonprofit may receive an appropriation through HB2. That is all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so at this point in time, I'd like to open up the public hearing.
Your Honor, at this point in time, I'd like to call forward Ellen Sizer from our Planning Division in P&D to lead us in the public hearing.
Good evening.
Evening.
Let me just put this up. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners,
Yep.
City Manager, Ms. Blackshear. Thank you for having me and speaking tonight. Today I'm going to talk to you about a proposed planned development located at 800 West 3rd Street in the Wright Dunbar neighborhood. This request includes two multi-use buildings. Both have commercial on the bottom floor and residential on the top floor. We're looking at rehabbing one of the buildings. That will be the former auto dealership located on 800 West 3rd Street, the big brick building. In general, the proposal is saying about 120 market rate apartments with about 66 parking spaces. Both are vacant. The building is vacant and the lot right next to it is vacant. And then let me just... And so just to show you some context of where we are, you can see we're on the west main corridor, West 3rd Street, coming from the downtown into the Wright Dunbar neighborhood. To the north is the Wolf Creek. To the south is the Wright Dunbar neighborhood. We're looking at that little corner piece. So the rehabilitation will happen on the western square, and then the new construction of the second building will be on the eastern side, and that is a vacant lot currently. And I just blew it up just to show you any details that you wanted to see and kind of get general context of where we're talking about. So in the zoning, we are in the MNC, which is the mature neighborhood commercial zoning, but it's basically surrounded by MR5, so that's mature residential. And just wanted to point out that right here, you can't really, but like right here is the line where the Wright Dunbar historic portion ends or begins. So south of that line is the historic portion, and the proposal is not in the historic district, just to point that out.
Okay.
And the applicant gave us some plans. This plan basically denotes kind of like where cars can go in and out of the space, where cars can park, also some lighting denotions as well. And so, again, in general, the applicant is providing 66 parking spaces. It says 71, but in our zoning code, we don't count street parking as part of the whole calculation for parking. So it's 66 with 120 units. And for Building A, I just wanted to point out that there are 22 secured secured parking spaces, so that is like in the building itself. And then there are 29 like surface one, which is right outside behind the building. And then there is also 12 bike parking as well, which are in the secured area as well. And this one will have 75 units as proposed. Building B, just right next door, has 15 parking spaces on the outside of it. There are no secured, but there are 36 bike parking spaces. And this building will have 49 units. The applicant also provided some elevations to show kind of the design of the proposal. And so I just wanted to point out here that the first building, Building A, is proposed to be 70 feet. As you can see, the first two levels are paying homage to the historic building that it will be rehabilitating, but above it, where the residences are, is more modern. So there's this like multi-dimensional vertical architecture going on. There's kind of this in and out. So it kind of creates less of a monolithic feel if it were just straight up with brick, but creates kind of an easy, airy feel given the different panels, the coloring, the different texture. We'll go to a rendering and that will become way more clear what I'm talking about, but I just wanted to show kind of what it looks like face on with the height. So this is just it close up in case you wanted to see more detail. Same thing for Building B, kind of the similar design. This building will be 60 feet tall, so that would be about 5 stories. And then this is just a close-up just to get some detail. So this is the rendering I was talking about, just to show that that kind of design in and out feeling, the multi-dimensional as well. I think this rendering shows well how the buildings connect to each other with that archway, as well as like some example of cars coming in and out. So just to show that there's the industrial windows on the bottom, so that will be commercial, and the residential will be on top. This is another rendering. This is facing behind the building, looking at the rear of the building. And so this is at the little neighborhood behind the residences. The applicant is proposing to put a wall, a Jeffersonian wall right there, as well as some mature trees and plenty of shrubbery. And this will act like as a barrier between this proposal and the Wright Dunbar residence behind it. So before I just go into the analysis, I just wanted to quickly go over what a PD is and what it can do. And so in general, a PD allows for a mix of land uses that usually aren't permitted in standard zoning or underlying zoning code. And this is not to say that zoning is being ignored whatsoever. Like our zoning code, a plan development must have compatibility to land uses and surrounding community. It has to encourage effective land use, and it can provide a framework for phased development. So in this case, the biggest difference between our zoning code and the PD is the height and the parking spaces. So this PD is what creates the regulations for the proposals that is needed, and in this case, because of the height and the parking. So with that all said, I'll go into a little bit more. So this proposal aligns pretty well with our Dayton Neighborhood Vision Plan, as well as our Dayton Comprehensive Plan, especially for the reason the second point points out is it will boost density and offer versatile housing, which Wright Dunbar wants to see, definitely, and so does our plans definitely want to see, and so that aligns pretty well. And then, like I said earlier, the proposed building honors the Wright Dunbar neighborhood by rehabilitating the old Chevrolet building, but also keeping the original brick as much as possible, which keeps the character of the neighborhood, but then also provides modern upper level feel. And then lastly, the plan board met and concluded, after a lot of discussion, that they found that the vehicular requirement for parking will be set at 0.75 spaces per residential unit, and that is an increase from the underlying zoning code, which says 0.5. So that is the main difference. And then quickly, I'll just go through our public process. We got a lot of letters of support with just some concerns. But so the West Variety Land Use Board offered a letter of support. They love the proposal. They love the use. They just have some concerns regarding parking and the height. I also got a letter of support from Wright Dunbar Village Historic Society. Similar thing. They just want want to kind of know like how the height and the parking will impact the neighborhood. Wright Dunbar Inc. sent a letter of approval, of recommendation of approval, particularly based on the effective use of adaptive reuse and modern construction, new construction. And then other comments I got, or staff received, were mostly from local neighbors. And again, there's similar stuff was said, just really love the project, really love the proposal. They just have some concerns regarding parking and height. And then lastly, Plan Board recommended approval, but with modifications. They require, like I said, the minimum of 0.75 parking spaces per residential unit, with other parking requirements of the underlying zoning still in effect. And this is subject to change in final plan review. So I just mentioned that just because if this were to move forward, there still is a second pair of eyes that are going to look at it before construction is even going to take place. So I just want to point that out. And again, I pointed out that remote parking is allowed to count towards the overall parking, and that just means the parking doesn't have to be on site. So here are the City Commission decision options. So we have approve it, we have remand the case back to Plan Board, or deny the request. That is all I have for you today, but I'm happy to answer any questions. We have the applicant here as well, and they're willing to answer any of your questions as well. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, so first of all, do we have any citizens who have any concerns or questions or registered to speak on this issue?
Not on the public hearing, Your Honor.
Okay, good. So Commissioners, thoughts, comments, questions on the public hearing? Commissioner Turner-Sloss?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Iser. Thank you for your presentation this evening. Very excited to see this project come forward. You're absolutely correct in terms of a lot of development that we're seeing in West 3rd Street and the Wright Dunbar District. So the parking issue, I know you noted that parking doesn't necessarily have to be on site, so
Yep.
that addressed the concerns for parking that the residents did have. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think the Plan Board came up with, took all those concerns into consideration, and that is what they thought was the best, and staff finds that appropriate as well.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Fairchild?
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I can't remember when we were first introduced to this project, and been excited. It's been in the pipeline for a while, so very excited about it moving forward. So is that a six-story building?
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, I didn't point that out correctly, but yes, so the rehab building will be 6 stories, and the new constructed building to the east will be 5 stories.
And the other, I'm trying to think of that corridor, 3 stories are the?
Oh, so the height, the zoning? Yeah, so the zoning, underlining zoning, the max height is 40 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're making an exception. And I'm not an expert on this, but you all are. How would that building fit into that landscape because it's a, a historic kind of business corridor over there with a lot of history, Dayton, and very important to Dayton. So how do we think that?
So that was definitely a discussion at Plan Board, but staff feels that this actually blends the two very well, especially with the way it's designed, as well as kind of the, you could also say that it's kind of a transitionary from the downtown into the west side, so the modern aspects of it kind of could make sense, but at the same time, staff feels that this is an appropriate design and could fit well into the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, Commissioner Shaw?
I mean, personally, I like the design, though I'm not an expert on architecture, but.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Shaw?
Yeah, no, really excited about this project. So is that a walkway in between the two buildings, or is that just?
Yeah, so it's a dead-end street. It's already, I'm going to go back really quick.
You mean that?
I mean, where the
He
sign.
means where the San Marcos sign.
Oh my
Is that a
gosh, I'm
walkway
so
between the
sorry.
buildings?
Yeah. No, that is just a sign.
It's a sign, okay.
I apologize.
All right, no problem. Yeah, again, really excited about this project, and especially that it creates so much density in that part of town. I think it really will generate some other kinds of development as we go forward. Thanks for the presentation, appreciate it.
Okay, Commissioner Joseph.
I want to thank you. This is exactly the kind of project we're looking for here. I want to thank, just as Commissioner did, the tenacity of the developers. It takes a lot to push these things through and get them right. I want to thank our staff for working this through, because we could see the vision when we were first introduced to it. So I really like this. Looking forward to getting started.
Great.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Okay, very easily, thank you. So let me close the public hearing. And you want to give us our options again?
I can. Yes. Oh, do you want me to say them? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can either approve the plan board recommendation or remand the case back to plan board or deny the request.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, what's your choice?
Let's move
Move forward.
Move ahead, okay? Thank you so much. So the pleasure is to move forward. We'll move forward. So the legislation, Ms. Blackshear?
The legislation in implementing zoning case number PLN 2024-00277 will be ordinance number 32121-24. It will receive a first reading only this evening. First reading ordinance number 32121-24, amending the official zoning map to establish planned development 190 for 1.42 acres between the southwest and southeast corners of West 3rd Street and Horace Street. That is all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. So Ms. Blackshear, do we have any citizens who are registered to speak?
Yes, Your Honor, 7 citizens have registered. I would like to state that there is a 3-minute time limit. As you address this commission, we ask that you state your name and address for the record. At that time, I will turn on the green light. When the green light comes on, you will have 3 minutes to speak. After you have spoken 2.5 minutes, a yellow light will come on. You will have 30 seconds remaining to speak. When the red light comes on, you will be asked to cease your comments and to take your seat. To the audience in attendance, please be mindful that this is a business meeting, and we kindly request that during this portion of the meeting, you refrain from any hand clapping, finger snapping, and conversations that will prevent the City Commission from hearing the speaker's comments. I call to the podium David Woods. Name and address for the record.
Oh, okay. My name is David Woods at 3230 Lakeview Avenue, Dayton, Ohio. I'd like
Evening.
I'm sorry, what you said?
I said good evening.
Oh, good evening. Sorry. Okay. I'm gonna talk about my dad in Kenner Hospital. The doctors who were responsible for his death. I'll say their names.
Nichols Browdigan.
Dr. Nichols Browdigan. Siva. Balama. Newesh. Makar.
Hemant Mahendra Shah. Corey Follick.
Scott Chandler. Just the police officers were involved that, caused his death, because I was his main power attorney in medical, and they interrupt. They said there was a threat made to the hospital. The Civil Rights Commission, Christina McDonald, who's investigating for Kettering Civil Rights Commission, has talked to their lawyer, and she said that there was a threat made, and the caller called Kettering Hospital that about a threat that they said I made, which I didn't make. And then later on, she talked to Captain Perez, who's in charge of Kettering Hospital in Grandview, but the main campus too. And he said that the Inglewood police called them, so Civil Rights Commission called Kettering Hospital a lie on that. And then Captain Perez was the one that told me that my dad died because I got trespassed. I didn't see him. And Captain Perez is now lying, said that he never did say that. So they're doing perjury. Then I asked Captain Perez, what about the male nurse who choked my dad in the throat and he got infection and got critical, and then they did nothing about that. I said, are you going to arrest him? I said, if you can't arrest them, well, I want Kettering police or Dayton police to come down there and arrest them. They had not did that. He still has worked in Kettering Hospital now. So I talked to my doctor, and I feel that the public safety is very important for the city of Dayton, because I'm concerned, because my dad's a preacher, and he was a Vietnam veteran. And I feel that Kettering Hospital, the CEO of Kettering Hospital, should be fired right, because he's aware of this, because the Civil Rights Commission has notified him that my dad's got choked and he got critical, and I seen it. So since they don't want to do that, Captain Perez them don't want to do anything about it. I feel that at this point right now, all elderly people who are 60, grandparents, that since he choked my dad, got him critical, there could have been other deaths in Kettering Hospital that he have slapped and choked other elder people that have not been aware of it yet. So anybody in Kettering Hospital that their grandmas or grandparents in there, that if their parents said that somebody's put their hands on them and that doctor's been there, nurse been there, that if possibly he has put their hands on there. So I feel they kind of slightly have like a serial killer, because my dad has caught it. Then a week later he died of infection, but he got choked in the throat and did nothing about it. So I feel right now that the CEO of Kettering Hospital should be fired unless he gets that nurse out of there who did it.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Yusuf Alzain.
Good evening, Yusuf Al-Zain, 4906 Amberwood Drive.
Good evening.
Genocide and the suffering it caused can be difficult to comprehend. It's a tragic reminder of humanity's capacity for both cruelty and resilience. I'm in front of you today not to talk about Palestine only, but my home country, Lebanon. 1.6 million Shia Muslims are added to the 2.2 million Palestinians that are now facing genocide and ethnic cleansing. I signed an open letter to the Director General of the UNESCO, and the reason I'm presenting this in front of you, because you put yourself in the spotlight, international spotlight, when you accepted to receive the NATO summit next year. So this letter is also directed to you as elected leaders. This Ms. Audrey Azale, she's the director of UNESCO. From the outset, the message is clear. Baalbek is under siege. So too are Tyre and Sidon and others. The village of Cana is believed to be the site of Cana with the sea, where Jesus performed his first miracle, turning water into wine at the wedding. John 2.2-11. Cana is already destroyed. As the 11th Director General of the UNESCO and only the second woman to hold this role, you are entrusted with the stewardship of humanity's cultural legacy. Given your esteemed position, it's only natural what an immense responsibility it is. But the issue at hand is urgent. Baalbek stands in peril. Do I need to explain its significance, paint the scope of the injustices it faces? Must I spell out what Baalbek represents for humanity so that you grasp the scale of destruction inflicted by the brutal aggressor, whose actions are shamefully met with silence and apathy from the world? Madam, you must recalibrate your priorities, setting aside any political calculations. Do not lose yourself in the political games orchestrated by the powers that be, particularly in Lebanon and Palestine. To act otherwise is to risk subjecting Baalbek's ancient stones and those of Tyre and Sidon to apocalyptic ruin. In this reality, you must act now to prevent this annihilation of humanity's inheritance. I urge you to rise from passivity, indeed, from what seems an oblivious sleep. And that's where we are all now. Baalbek cries out of pain, and here I am conveying the anguish etched in stones, the sorrow reverberating through history. Do not dismiss this cry. It is, madam, a wounded lament, one struck at the core of dignity and pride. Hear it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
comments.
Ms. Alzain.
Melissa Chancellor.
Good evening.
Evening.
Your name and address for the record.
My name is Melissa Chancellor, 702 East Main Street, Trotwood, Ohio.
You may begin.
Hi. I haven't been down here in 2 years. I come to talk about my son's death. If I feel like it's nothing being done about it. And I talked to Detective Farkas, and he was kind of rude the last time I talked to him, and I wish not to deal with him anymore. I'm sick, and I need peace, and I need justice for my son. We just celebrate his 29th birthday Sunday, and I have information, and I need someone to listen to me and take this information that I got, because it all stems from when my son got robbed and the person had to do time for it. So I guess he was in prison meditating that what he was going to do to my son when he got out, and he did it. And he made a rap video of it and everything, but it was on some website where it's only on there for 24 hours. And he made it and he sent it to one of my daughters. And I just need some kind of justice. I need someone to listen, and I don't want my son's name to go in vain. It's just like, I can't, it's out of my hands. I have to be his voice, and he didn't deserve to get shot in the back. And like I said, I was here 2 years ago, and I'm back again because I need someone to listen. I need something to be done so I can be at peace. I'm not at peace with this. That was my only son, and he was still at home with me. And I don't understand, when I call and I talked to Detective Farkas, I was on the phone with him a minute, and he was very rude to me, and I don't want to talk to him no more. I don't have no kind of communication with this man, this detective, anymore, because he was rude. Like I said, I was on the phone with him 1 minute, just asking him, is anything, you have anything about my son's case? No, Miss Chancellor, I don't have anything about your son's, to tell you about your son's murder. That was it. And I need some kind of answers. I need someone to really listen to me and get the information that I got. I know you can't go by hearsay, but, you put 2 and 2 together. He even told me it was personal. It was personal because everything that was on my son was laying on the ground. It wasn't no robbery. It was personal. And this person, he has been out. He gets out 3 months later. My son, he gets murdered. And he's running around Dayton telling people that he did it. I mean, he made a rap video about how it happened. And I need justice for my son. It's not sitting well with me. And I've been down here 2 years ago, and I'm back again because I need to talk to someone. I need somebody to talk to me, communicate with me, and just give me some kind of hope. Let me know that his case is not closed. That was my only son. He was only 3 pounds at birth. He wasn't out in the street. Y'all could look up his record. He went to jail 1 time. It was overnight. He wasn't robbing. He wasn't doing none of that kind of stuff. He wasn't doing none of that. But I need justice for my son, Damian Chancellor.
Okay, will you please stay after the meeting, and I'll get some more additional information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chancellor.
Anna Flores.
Hi, my name is Anna Flores. I live at 9227 Great Lakes Circle. I'm here because I have an issue with City Manager Shelley Dickstein. Shelley, we know what you did. We know that you intentionally placed yourself in the power of all contracts $50,000 and under because you wanted to renew a partnership with Israel, a genocidal state, without the input of the commission and therefore without the input of the people. We know that you renewed the DRETA contract back in June, hoping we wouldn't notice that. Not only did you renew it, but you put an even larger investment of the city's money into a contract that directly benefits an apartheid state. You did the exact opposite of what we have been asking you to do for the better part of a year. I don't care how many millions of dollars you think this contract is worth for this city. Ultimately, the lives of Palestinians are more important than any profit we might make from this partnership. I refuse to live in a city that profits off of the genocide of brown people. Shelley, you are not a friend to people of color, no matter how progressive or inclusive you think you are. I have to ask, why is one person alone managing our foreign affairs as a city, and how is it that the commission wasn't even aware of this major decision to renew this contract? Between your nepotism and this situation, Shelley, it's becoming increasingly clear that you like to abuse your power as the city manager, a position you have held for far too long. You seem to think that you're not an elected official. You don't have to answer to us. What you're forgetting is that at the end of the day, we pay your salary, and as a city employee, you have a responsibility to the city and the people in it. Shelley, we've pulled the curtain on your operation. We are watching you and will no longer let you fly under the radar as a decision maker in the city. You have the blood of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians on your hands, and you deserve to be fired for sneaking around with companies contracted by the IDF. And I see you smiling there this whole time that I've been speaking. I don't
Please
think.
address your comments to the commission.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, the city manager is smiling at the fact that I am calling her out for a partnership with a genocidal state. So that's really cool of her to do. Y'all should fire her.
Thank you for your comments.
Ms. Forrest.
Mary Martin.
Hello, Mayor.
Evening.
Anybody else?
Your name and address for the record.
Mary Martin.
Can you step a little closer? There you go.
That okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mary Martin, 1529 Lexington Avenue.
You may begin.
I'm here to address a situation that I have called about several times, and it is about rotten trees, or half-rotten trees on Tennyson. I'm called, and excuse me, to let you all know that it's dangerous. The branches have been falling, and I'm called. It falls out in the streets and in yards. And lately, the branch fell and hit a car that was parked and broke the windows. It's dangerous because you never know when those branches are going to fall, and we, as in the neighborhood, don't have the means of cutting those, rotten branches off because it's real tall trees. There's women that come down on the sidewalk, walk on the sidewalk with babies in their strollers. I'm concerned about it, very concerned about it, because like I said, you never know when it's going to fall. I want somebody to do something about it before somebody get hurt. Because if it falls and hits one of them children that's on the sidewalk, or a mother's baby that while she's walking her baby, that would be tragic. So I'm here to address that.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. So we'll make sure we have someone get your information and address so we can take a look at that situation for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Earlene Pierce. Name and address for the record.
My name is Earlene Pierce. I live at 1526 Lexington Avenue.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I guess I should come down here every Wednesday, but because of my working condition, I cannot be here. But I would like to be here every Wednesday because there are things that are not being addressed. Although I have called, talked to the right people, but nothing gets done. And the last of the straw was when your garbage truck came in the front of my house. Something happened to the truck and all the oil and the garbage fell out in the street, smelling. They picked up whatever they need to pick up and they went on home. Instead of them sending a truck back out there and wash this filth out of the street, it stayed there for everybody to smell. I mean, you cannot continue to do this because you will run us away out of the city and leave and go somewhere else. I'm trying to stay there. But how can you stay in the garbage when the garbage people won't even help you out? The only thing helped us out was a storm came that night. But storm do not wash away grease and nasty mess in the front of my house. I built that house there because I love the city of Dayton. But why do this to us? There's a house down the street, which I've addressed. They took the sewer top off and all the garbage comes out in the yard. We've been trying to get rid of that for 6 months, and you think any of you came down there or sent someone to clean that yard or put some dirt on it or run that house away from there? We don't want to get sick in this area. We need some help down there. And again, I want to thank you for cleaning up the alleys. They've started cleaning up the alleys where the garbage trucks cannot even get through the alleys because of the debris. It's just a mess. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you for your comments.
Alexandra Williams.
Hello, Alexandra Williams, 2125 East Whip Road.
East Whip,
Yep.
You
Okay.
may begin.
thank you for your comments.
Yeah. I'm here to talk about DRITA, the Dayton Region Israel Trade Alliance. It's been said very many times by your city manager, Shelley Dickstein, that DRITA does not deal in weapons. However, when we received our FOIAs back from Montgomery County, and I'll read a little bit for you to see, an email from Hadass, which is the DRITA contact over in Israel. DRITA team, see below from CBAT for an upcoming visit. This was September of 2022. We are looking for customers who are looking to purchase Air Force and Navy surplus, excess of various types such as engines, platforms, spare parts for planes, main systems in the air and sea fields. There is also another flyer, this one specifically from the Israel Ministry of Defense. Offers for sale a wide variety of engines such as PT-6A, Garrett TFW 731, F-100PW, Boeing 707. All of the engines and spare parts will be sold in as is, where is condition, and it's got a contact number. That is dealing with weapons. But there is another weapon that Shelley is dealing with, and it is money. As a poor colonized person, not just here, but in the nation state of Mexico, I understand very well that money can be and is very often used as a weapon. Especially, here, when Shelley is helping to bolster the economic engine of Dayton by anchoring it to a genocidal occupying force. And, she likes to talk so much about this economic engine and Dayton economic engine, but then there are, her colleagues, y'all, who talk about the poverty and the rising mental health crises that are happening in Dayton. There's a disconnect. It is Shelley who is responsible for this. Shelley just heard all of y'all express concerns about poverty in relation to the housing presentation that was up here, because y'all understand that money can be a weapon and is often used as a weapon. That person does not. Your city manager does not. In fact, she continues to use her position to gaslight thousands of people into thinking she has our best interests when her only interest is herself and the colonizers in her family that currently live in Israel, that are currently contributing to the genocide. Israel can only exist due to little Shelleys everywhere anchoring its economy to their local economies. It might be good for Dayton. I don't really see it on the streets. I don't really see it in the schools. I don't see it. I certainly don't see it at the courthouse square. These millions of dollars that Shelley likes to talk about. What I do see is thousands of brown babies burned alive. I see patients in their hospital beds burned alive. And I see Dayton's complicity.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
That is all, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dixon, any closing comments?
Yes, I just want to call a shout out to our recreation staff for a fabulous fall harvest event. It was enjoyed by many in the community. It was a beautiful day, and they did a great job of coordinating, organizing, and creating an opportunity for our community to come and celebrate our fall. So that was it. Thank you.
Terrific. Yeah, I was there. I think staff was there as well. Terrific job. Okay. Ms. Blackshear, any closing comments?
I have none, Your Honor.
Have none. Commissioners, Commissioner Turner-Sloss, in closing comments.
Yes, very briefly, thank you, Ms. Dickstein, for uplifting the work of our Recreation and Youth Services Department. From my understanding, it was a very successful event, so kudos to the entire department, as well as our Public Works Department and many other departments that supported the Fall Festival. Thank you, Ms. Sizer, for your presentation this evening. I'm very excited to see the San Marco project come into fruition, as well as thanking the developers for being here this evening. Mr. Woods, I would encourage you to continue with seeking counsel with your attorney that you have in place right now, as well as mentioned prior to, I think it was last week, to contact the medical board to lodge your concerns and your complaints. Mr. Alzane, Ms. Williams, and Ms. Forrest, thank you for your continued advocacy and thank you for being here. Ms. Chancellor, my condolences to you and your family. As the mayor has already alluded to, I'm glad that you're still here so that Ms. Dixon can perhaps direct you to speak with Mr. Paulette for further support and assistance. Ms. Martin, thank you for being here as well and addressing your concerns for the overgrown vegetation and the trees that need to be removed on Tennyson. I will tell you that our Public Works Department has made great strides in the Southern Dayton View neighborhood. They were out, I believe, all last week cleaning up a number of areas with overgrown vegetation, the alleys, cutting down trees, just a number of efforts that were being made to cut back a lot of the debris and the overgrown vegetation in our vacant properties, as well as through the tree lawns in the Dayton View area. And I know that they're making efforts to go on to other neighborhoods as we are making our way through the fall season, as well as leaf pickup started last week or this week. So again, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we'll make sure that we will get that over to get that issue addressed. Ms. Pierce, thank you for being here as well. As mentioned, there are a number of demolitions that will be taking place in the Southern Dayton View neighborhood, as you and I had a conversation about that. And again, I will come out there personally. Matter of fact, we can go this evening if you like, so that we can address that concern that you have raised before us. And again, I appreciate you being here. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for those citizens who've come out and participated tonight in our meeting. City Manager, I concur on your gratitude for the harvest party. I was able to get out there and I'll say I ordered up the weather. You know, that's kind of something I get requested for all the time. So it was a beautiful day, beautiful people. We might want to up our game because not only was recreation there, but fire and police, public works, all had a station within the harvest party. So I don't know if there's a place for our city commission office to be out there and to participate, but I love the additions with the hayride and the pumpkin patch. I mean, it was just a really great opportunity for our families. So thank you to your team. I see Mr. Lumpkin, John Lumpkin back there. Congratulations on moving the San Marco project forward. Just wanted to recognize you and congratulate you on that step. I know there's a lot of hard work coming, but we look forward to it. And if there's things that we can do to help you, we stand ready. And I just want to say, in my questions around civil penalties, civil penalties on the housing, I don't think I expressed my gratitude for us moving that forward. I mean, this is something that I've advocated for a long time, and so wanting to make sure we have the right precautions and we get it right. And Commissioner Joseph always says, we'll start this and we'll have to look for adjustments, but wanted to say that I'm glad that we're making this step. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad we'll have this additional tool. Tomorrow night is Halloween, so be mindful of our children that may be out doing trick-or-treat. It's getting dark very early, so if you're driving between 6 and 8, I think that's trick-or-treat time in Dayton. Be very mindful of our young people who might be out going door to door. And as always, there are, 6 days left? Yeah, 6 days. Yeah, 6 days that you can get out and vote. Early votes open through Sunday, and then Election Day on Tuesday. So make sure you get out and exercise your right and responsibility. So vote.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you. If you've received our annual survey, our annual resident survey, don't miss your chance to share your thoughts with us. I mean, we really rely on that information. And you can complete that by mail, online, or by phone. And if you complete it by the deadline, you will be entered for a chance to win a $500 Visa gift card. So I think that's a really great opportunity. But even in addition to the money, it's just a great tool for us to hear your thoughts, and we would really appreciate it if you turn that in. Also, FL-CIO and Building Trades Apprenticeship Program is back open. You can pick up applications for that here at our office. The deadline to apply is January 17th, and you should take advantage of this great opportunity to lift up yourself or your family, and it's just a great opportunity for not only young people, but anyone that wants to get involved in the building trades. There's a lot of great opportunities, great jobs out there, and I hope everyone would take advantage of that. Also, staying on this conversation about Wright Dunbar, there's a grand opening of the Wright Dunbar Cigar Shop and Lounge this Friday. And it's a great opportunity to celebrate the growth and continued development of the Wright Dunbar Business District. So we've heard some great information about Wright Dunbar, and this is just another evidence that things are on the move there. So excited.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Joseph.
Thank you. I want to join my colleagues in thanking staff for the Fall Harvest Festival. My youngest was thrilled that there was a real magician with a real rabbit. So that she was thrilled, and it was great that so many city employees were out there supporting. It was a nice event. So thank you all for doing that. Again, careful tomorrow night between 6 and 8. Too many times I still see people driving too fast, and there are a ton of kids out. So please be careful. Finally, we are celebrating National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Since I'm the commissioner that talks about this stuff the most, I get the bullet points. We know that there are folks out there who are trying to steal money, and worse, there are actors internationally who are trying to get access for other reasons too. So you all work somewhere, you have computers at home. Be careful what you do, how you do it. Make sure your passwords are changed, even though it's very annoying, I know. Change them regularly. Be careful what you're doing and how you're doing it. It's better for us as a city, better for you and your family, better for us as a country. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. A couple of things. I just want to express my condolences, of course, to Mr. David Woods and also Mr. Chandler for the loss of your family members. And don't forget to stick around so we can get additional information so we can help out as best we can. Additionally, want to say easily how much fun I had on the hayride with the kids on Saturday that was offered by our Recreation Department. Very exciting. They were very excited, and the ride was a little bumpy, but they were fine. They went at a very slow speed. I also want to remind everyone, I voted yesterday, don't forget to vote. Very, very important. And again, vote for the candidates that benefit you, your livelihood, your family, and your community. And we'll leave it at that. Okay, those issues can also be found as you Google those information, that information from the different candidates online to find out what they've been up to, and not just rely on the commercials that we see on radio or here on TV, or the other way around. Okay, thank you. And the aspect of us at least providing a jump-off spot this Saturday at 12 o'clock. There'll be a variety of fraternities and other citizens who want to leave from the city commission to walk up the streets and vote on this coming Saturday. So make sure if you want to do that, if you haven't voted, you want to vote with the crowd, you can do that. I'm sure there were several churches also having strolled to the polls where they're leaving after church and going to vote. And all these things are very important for us. And again, I would just remind you, those communities that vote the most get the most. And so if you've not voted, you have challenges and problems, you want us to have more money to do things to help this community, make sure you go ahead and vote and use your voice as a, not as a hammer, but as a leverage to improve the quality of life that we have in our communities. So with no other business to come before this commission, love and peace for all, hatred for none. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.